All right. We're back once again. Good evening to you. Thank you for checking me out tonight. This is your host, Mr. Flynn. This podcast is What You Should Know But Don't. The topic question tonight is, do we love ourselves as a community? We're going to get into it real quick. Stay tuned. Let's go. All right. Welcome back. Appreciate y'all being here, tuning in with me. Thank you. First and foremost, let me remind you, this is a miniseries, so I won't be doing this forever, but while I'm here, the format will go like this. Every episode, I'll present you with a topic question, I'll discuss it, and by the end of the episode, I'll try to give you what I think is the best answer to the question. So today, I want to talk about our community a little bit as Black people. Of course, there's a lot we could discuss. There's a lot to say and unpack. But my reason for addressing this topic today is that sometimes, we may see some things in our community or see people behave in a way that makes us question whether we really care about ourselves or not. Crime is the way it is. Different issues, parental issues are the way they are. The economic status and health of our community is the way it is. And all these things, make you wonder, you step back like, do we really love ourselves? Do we really care about what happens to us? So I wanted to examine the idea of whether we love ourselves as a community. So let's get into it, shall we? We can't talk about our people without talking about our history a little bit. Although, we have a very, very rich African heritage for American Blacks here in this country. Our history, unfortunately, started with being kidnapped and abused for years, as well as being stripped of our mental and physical identity. What makes matters worse today is we, kind of come to see ourselves as a people. Our viewpoint has been influenced by racist whites, and the way they perceived us way back then. So here we are today kind of, affected by this stuff that's been put on us. So when we ask the question, do we love ourselves as a community, we got to examine further what it means to love ourselves in the first place. So I want to talk to you today about 4 aspects of loving ourselves that I think are important. Number 1, self-concepts. Number 2, self-esteem. Number 3, self-efficacy. And number 4, support systems. Now, I'll say this. How we see ourselves is very important, obviously. Our self-image, which is how we see ourselves in this particular moment in time, shows up in a lot of different ways. It shows up in the things we say, do, or believe about ourselves. Now, when we talk about Africans that were taken from their native land and brought to America, they either kept a certain view of themselves, adjusted to a certain view of themselves, or accepted a certain view of themselves. If you don't get what I'm saying, let me explain this a little bit more. Africans that were kidnapped saw themselves in 4 different ways. Number 1, I am not, cannot, and will never be a slave. I'd rather die first. Number 2, I'm not inferior to nobody. I'm ready, willing, and able to physically fight for my freedom if I have to. Number 3, I recognize that I'm not being treated right, but I don't want to die either. Therefore, I need to change the way the system treats me. And number 4, I can't do anything about how I'm being treated, so I'll just go along with it. I'll comply. I'll obey. All right. Now, you may see these types of attitudes show up in different ways in our community today. You may say, but what does that have to do with loving ourselves as a community? What these different perspectives described are called self-concepts. Self-concepts are like the ways that we perceive ourselves based on like our social interaction with others, meaning like how others treat us or how they tell us we treat them becomes part of what we accept, about ourselves. For example, I could say I'm a good friend to my friends, but I'll only be saying that because of how my friends react to me or because of what they may have told me. Now, looking back at the 4 perspectives I described, we can imagine that each perspective was nurtured in a certain way. Let's say, for example, the first perspective, we can imagine it was reinforced for that person that allowing him or herself to be a slave wasn't an option. End of discussion. Point blank, period. For the second perspective, we can imagine it was reinforced for that person that they're not inferior to anybody. Having freedom is a right, and like they're willing to defend that right by any means necessary. For the third perspective, we can imagine that it was reinforced for that person that how they are treated by others matters. Yet instead of risking their life, they willing to look for other ways to change the situation they're in. Now, for the fourth perspective, we can imagine it was reinforced for that person that they're basically helpless and there's nothing they can really do about how they're treated, but just to accept life as it is and just roll with it. So to push this conversation forward, we kind of need to examine our self-concepts today. To do so, we have to look at ourselves in light of how others see us. Our schools, our parents, our significant others, them the folks that often play the biggest parts in the development of Black self-concepts, to be honest. It would be good to ask ourselves, what do the people closest to me think about me? How do I appear to them? And what ways am I shaping their perception of me, with the things that I do or say or how I act? And does how they see me line up with how I see myself? All of that's important to know. And those type of questions take some serious introspective study. You really have to look within to try to get those answers and maybe have dialogue with those people to see what they tell you, Now, I say this, probably one of the most common ways to measure how we love ourselves is by examining our self-esteem. Self-esteem, is a common term, and it's basically how much you like, accept, and value yourself. A person's self-esteem can either be high or low. Feelings of high or low self-esteem initially start when we're small, when we're children. You know what I'm saying? When we have healthy self-esteem, we feel, more positive about ourselves, about life in general, just everything around us. It makes us better able to deal with difficult situations and disappointments that may come our way. When our self-esteem is low, we tend to see ourselves and our life in more of a pessimistic light. You know what I'm saying? We may feel less able to take on the challenges that life throws at us, Now, thinking about that in terms of our community, when we talk about in particular having family drama at home or crime in our neighborhoods or going to a poor school or working at a dysfunctional job, all of these things can affect our self-esteem, causing us to not feel so good about ourselves or those around us. You know what I'm saying? In general, researchers will tell you that young people with low self-esteem are more likely to be delinquents that commit crime than anything. Now, I assume the idea is that, those who have low self-esteem might not care as much about themselves, and it's likely they won't care that much about others around them either. And we see this happen again when we talk about crime, when we talk about different things that go on in our neighborhood, sometimes maybe how somebody's keeping up their property or the way a neighborhood looks or the way our stores look or the customer service that's being given, all of that stuff. You have to take in consideration how these people may feel about themselves and then how that's projected into the world that they live in. You know what I'm saying? Now, looking at the situation from that perspective, when we see our people dressing their best, working out, eating healthy, treating their body right, gainfully employed, obeying the law, not sleeping around, going to school, traveling, reading maybe, attending church or spending quality time with their family or anything of that nature that's of a positive sort, we can assume that those folks have high self-esteem because their actions appear to be constructive and worthwhile. Now, on the other hand, when we see people not looking their best, they're depressed, they're maybe out of shape, not eating healthy, abusing their bodies, sleeping around, lacking knowledge of self, not getting out, being antisocial, avoiding their family, or just involving themselves in things that only bring more negativity into their lives, we can assume they may have low self-esteem because their actions appear counterproductive and bleak. Now, another way, another indication of how we feel about ourselves comes because of the successes that we have in life. This aspect is called self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is a person's belief in their ability to succeed or achieve a goal that they set for themselves. The guy that's the automaker, Henry Ford, he's famous for this saying that was whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Now, you may say, what if I believe that I can't achieve anything? Then ultimately you probably won't. And not having any success in your life can only add to you not feeling good about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Narrow-minded folks who don't encounter discrimination believe that a person's lack of personal success is their responsibility. These people view blacks living in poverty, lacking quality education, or unable to acquire gainful employment as being lazy or shiftless. Racist people will believe that it's just their fault that they couldn't live better or get hired, or that their families are like that. You know, in these people's mind, the world is fair and equal for everybody. So from their perspective, it's no wonder that black people are viewed as being unsuccessful. Now, you and I know in today's society, discrimination against blacks and people of color is a reality. There's been studies conducted where blacks with the right education and work experience are still denied good paying jobs that they're more than qualified for, or denied home loans even when they have the credit and the funds available to purchase a property. Also, you got black women that don't receive the same rate of pay as men but do the same type of work. You know, in these scenarios, the right thing to do is to step back and look at the system at large, you know, which research and statistics have shown empirically that blacks still face racial barriers, preventing them from seeing equality in a lot of socioeconomic regards. Still, even knowing all of that doesn't take away the negative feelings that affect our self-efficacy. Everybody needs wins in their life. We all need success stories. We love watching a success story on a movie or on a TV show. For our own confidence and mental health, we need to have goals that we achieve and tasks that we accomplish. They can be big or small, doesn't matter. Cleaning up your house can make you feel good. Finishing a good book can make you feel good. Getting a promotion on your job can make you feel good. Getting into college can make you feel good. Writing a business plan can make you feel good. Helping people in the community can make you feel good. Being there for your family and friends when they need you the most can make you feel good. All of those things and more are what build us up inside, making us happy with who we are. And if we're happier with ourselves, it makes it a little bit easier to be happy with the others around us too. All right, now the last thing I want to talk to you about is the support system. If we want to be better as individuals and as a collective community, we need support systems to rely on. A support system is basically like a network of people that gives you practical and emotional support. You know, support systems can, you know, help you improve your overall health and reduce stress and anxiety in your life. Having a good support system means that you got people that you can count on, you know, that, you know, are there for you when you need them the most. Now, I tell you this, a support system don't mean that you got a bunch of yes men or yes women that are there to tell you just what you want to hear to make you feel better. Matter of fact, when you think about it, those people in your life that are typically telling you the right thing, even though you may not want to hear it, believe it or not, those folks are probably part of your support system, you know? Now, I'll tell you this. In my last podcast, episode 1, Can People Change for the Better? I talked a lot about what was wrong in my life when I was younger and how things changed for the better as I got older. As you might recall, I gave all honor and praise due to God for directing my steps once I decided to put my life in His hands. Something I was blessed with that I was fortunate to have when I was going through that process was a strong support system. I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for the village that I had around me, talking to me, praying for me, being patient with me, telling me when I was messing up, loving on me, and teaching me things along the way. I tell you this much, nobody makes it on their own. There's no such thing as an overnight success. The real reason why anybody makes it is because there was others in the background working with them. I know everybody doesn't have the support system that they may need. I recognize that I was fortunate with the people that I had around me to be there for me when I needed them, but having good people around you is not something that's like exclusively just for me. Sometimes we need to step back and change the way we look at those that we have around us already and those that have the most influence in our lives. If you examine the situation, you might have some folks you need to fall back on and others you may need to get closer to, you know. Researchers have found that a strong support system has a lot of positive benefits to it. Some of those benefits include like having higher levels of well-being, having better coping skills, and living a longer, healthier life. Having a support system also reduces depression. And we talked about the anxiety and stress and how it can be a benefit for that. For us to thrive, bottom line, we need a support system to be there for us when we're in need. So Now, getting back to the question at hand, do we love ourselves as a community? To me, the answer to that question is it depends on the people around us, straight up. Our self-concept is a reflection of the people we interact with. Our self-esteem is a product of how we feel about ourselves. Our self-efficacy is strengthened by the success we experience in life, and the support system that we have are the people that build us up. All of those different aspects I touched on centered around us, but in one way or another, they also involve people we're around too. I'll say this, all black people are influenced by schools, their parents, a church, their work settings, their friends, the general community, and their significant others. If we want to see better examples from our people, young, middle-aged, or seniors, we got to show love to them. So ideally, they'll show love back. Now, what that means to me is this. How we love each other determines if we love ourselves or not. Okay, we all been hurt at some point in time by those closest to us, our people. At some point or another, somebody done did something that made you mad, hurt your feelings, put a sour taste in your mouth, etc. Maybe it was something they said. Maybe it was something they did that affected how we view ourselves in the world around us. But I tell you this much, we cannot internalize these things and hold on to negative things. I promise you, it won't do you any good. All that'll do is stop us from loving ourselves and the others around us. I know you can't make everybody love you, and some folks just won't do right no matter what you do. But still, I strongly believe if you show love to the people in your community, they'll show it back. But if you don't, they won't. It's as simple as that for me, So I'm going to stop there. But once again, I thank you for tuning in and listening to me share these little bits of information and wisdom I gained over time. I really hope it registers with somebody somewhere out there. Start telling the people you hang around, you the most, that have the most influence in your life. Start telling them that you love them. And if you don't feel like saying you love them because it's weird or whatever the case may be, you feel awkward doing it, then just show it to her then. Show them that you love them. You know what I'm saying? That's the best thing we can do as a community to make things better. You feel me? So, again, I'm going to stop there. I'll say this. Please like and share this video through your social media accounts with your family, friends, and with anybody else you think may benefit from something I said tonight. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more video content by yours truly, Mr. Flynn. I appreciate you taking time to listen to this video. I hope it helps in some way. That's all I got for now. Until next time, peace, 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 and more peace. All right?